What is up, guys, and welcome to Week 5 Power Rankings for the ASL. I am once again joined with Milan.
Hey guys, what's going on? Milan here. I'm joined with Ian. Let's start right off with number 14.
Alright, sounds good. Number 14, we both have White Ferret, who is still yet to get a win. This week he ended up losing to Shadow
Shadow.
in a close 1-0 loss. Ended up getting swept by Nidoking in the end there. It was admittedly a pretty tough matchup for him. Super big hyper offense against a kind of defensive team that didn't really have the best defensive answers for his offense. I made it very rough. He struggled to even kill the Nidoking in the end because he just didn't have the build that was there for it. But that being said, I don't think you can really attribute it all to bad matchup either. I think that the Flygons definitely could have played it better and prepped it better to mitigate those issues and potentially have won that game. It was very close, but you're still winless so far, so can't move you up.
Yeah, exactly. I have you at the last spot as well. Basically because you're the only team left without a win. You did have a very hard matchup indeed this week. Playing offense with such a defensive team is really tough. Um, However, I really hoped you won this game because I think you're definitely putting a lot of effort in it, and I know you definitely really want to win, and I admire your dedication to get a win. But yeah, next week you face off versus the Winters Weaver, who also aren't doing too hot in the ASL right now, so maybe you can pick up a win over there. Wish you the best of luck, and yeah, just keep trying, man. Eventually, everyone gets a win, so like you'll get there. At number 13, I have the Seattle Togedemaru's. This week they faced up versus a very tough opponent, being the Chicago Kongs. Zygarde did his thing again, and there wasn't really anything you could have done about it. You did brought a Scarf Jirachi, which potentially could have killed it, but you weren't running a speed boosting nature, so the Zygarde did end up outspeeding you, which was really unfortunate to see. Also, the Gliscor probably could have 1v1'd the Zygarde in a way if you brought it in earlier instead of sacking first your entire team to it, and then Gliscor was the last one standing. So yeah, overall not too great. Um, I do still think you have a very good team, and I also think you are just like Ferret, putting a lot of effort in your games. And next week you have a very tough opponent once again, but with the right help, maybe just reach out to other people. You might be able to get an upset win. I mean, it's the ASL. Why not? Just do your best, and I think you'll be fine. And you have actually the Winters Weevil at number. Please explain to us why.
Once again, it's basically just based off record. I do think that based on how he plays the game versus you, if he had been if that gameplay reflected in his results, he would not be down here. But unfortunately, he is still 1-4, only picking up a single win last week. So he hasn't had the best run so far. He has had a lot of difficult opponents and difficult matchups thus far. But at week 5, it's hard to continue justifying it as just a bad luck streak of scheduling wise. At this point, the blame has to lie squarely on your shoulders. You definitely played the game well. Got pretty severely out prepped in a lot of ways though. I don't blame you for not necessarily expecting stuff like the boom on Metagross to come out to kill off your Slowking and stuff like that. But you do have to play better if you want to really succeed in the ASL. And it's just disappointing to see, honestly. But you can explain why you've decided to give them that little nudge up to 12.
Yeah, Jelmer played off versus me. We had our little J-Lone game, which I really enjoyed myself. It's really intense, always playing my friend. Yeah, but the rankings don't lie. I mean, the statistics don't lie. You aren't really doing well this far. However, this is only the second game after your trades, and I think these trades really suit you well because at first your team was super defensive, relying on a few setup sweepers, which did have a 4 times weakness. So it was overall pretty hard to get him off. And now you have a really nice offensive full turn created for yourself, and still have a fat backbone in the regen gore. So I think the further matches coming this season, you would definitely pick up some wins because, like Ian said, play wise you're doing very well. It's just you fail to get up the wins till this point, and I think you will change things up. I think you will rise in the rankings for sure, but that's me. And you have the Shadow Token of Maros at spot number 12. Please tell us why.
Yeah. At from 12 onwards, pretty much. Up until like 7, probably. Like all the results are tied. All the differential is really similar. All
Yeah.
of the like games, like calibers have been really similar. So it's really difficult to judge. And I didn't really want to punish him too hard for losing to such a strong coach as Dave. But at the same time, the prep just was so lackluster. I felt for the Zygarde. I really appreciated that he did finally bring the Poison Heal on Gliscor, but he also realistically should have brought a set that wasn't walled by the Zygarde, given that it was by far his best answer to it. Clefable is not a great answer to it because minimal chip allows for Iron Tail with the Corkscrew Crash to kill it pretty easily. That's pretty basic prep to bring. And once again, like you said, the Scarf Jirachi should have had the speed to outspeed +1 Zygarde as well. I understand expecting the Zygarde to be adamant, but you can't really rely on that. And especially if the Gliscor wasn't chipped, you realistically shouldn't have let your Clefable take so much damage. So all these prep errors and play errors really did stack up against you, which was the main reason why I felt like you should drop down to the 12th spot. But I'm sure you can bounce back in the coming weeks if you just fine tune your prep a little bit to really take down the main threats. But coming in at number 11, we've got once again a difference of opinions, just what I like to see. You have Malone down here.
Should I explain why I have Malone here? Because I didn't hear you completely well.
Yeah, I said you have Malone down here.
Oh yeah, okay, my bad. Yeah, I have Malone down here. Finally, his little win streak has ended, which was pretty unfortunate. However, it was versus the top coach at this point, so I can't really blame you too well. But yeah, it definitely showed that TCP was definitely a bit more prepared, better skilled, outplayed you in a bit. Like really early on, you the final gambit on a Selvar and he recovered it off. Like you said that it was a misclick, but I think it was just not really a bad play, but you got outplayed in a way. And overall in the matchup, the Diggersby in the end just did so much work to you, and you weren't ready for it. Like that's just it. You weren't really ready for TCP at this point, and it's sad to see that your win streak uh, went away. But maybe you can catch up another win streak later on in the season. You play me next week, so who knows? Who knows? And you have the Denver Numbers at place 11. Please tell us
Yes.
why.
Speaking of streaks, Denver Nummels actually broke that lose streak against AZ this week. Played it quite well, I'd say. Played it safe, made the plays he needed to make. Made the sacks that were good to make. He didn't just sack things needlessly. He sacked things in a way that was safe, which was really good to see. Really refreshing play, and I'm glad that he was able to pick up a win at this point. It's good to see, given how strong his team is overall. It's definitely didn't want to see a 1-4 team with Kieran Black and Mew on it. So great to see you getting the wins. I didn't want to move you up too much just for getting one win, though, especially when all the other coaches are so close neck and neck as it is. But I'm sure if you can keep this up, then you will start to move back up again and make the climb back into the playoff contention. But coming in at number 10, we have a little bit of a difference here. I have Susie with the Utah Hoots. They did lose this week in a really close 1-0 loss to Hutch. Played it quite well, I'd say. made the plays that they needed to stay into the game. But in reality, it just didn't end up being enough to deal with Hutch. So yeah, that's kind of the main issue that I saw, was being outclassed as a player more so than anything that you specifically did wrong. So I didn't want to punish you for that. I felt like you played up pretty damn well, all things considered. So I did decide to give you that little bit of a bump up, even though you are currently 2-3. But why don't you go ahead and explain why you've got AZ at number 10?
Yeah, I had AZ at number 10. He played versus Blake this week, and I think Blake played it really well versus him. It didn't feel like AZ was in control of the match like he used to be in his other games, unless the other loss, not counting that other loss. I think AZ is one of those players that when he has control, he's really hard to beat. But when he loses control, he he really slips away in the battle, and that's what's shown in this match. I feel like the master was just ahead of him the entire game, and yeah, basically from an expected playoff coach to lose to a team which has a bit of a losing streak, which also wasn't putting the best of effort in the last couple of weeks. It just wasn't an upset loss in a way. So I feel like um, it was really hard to rank everyone as well. So, but like because it was such an upset loss, I decided to put you at the 10th spot. Nothing personal, which is just hard ranking for me. And at number 9, I actually have the Utah Hoots, Susie, and I was pretty upset about this loss from Susie. To be honest, I was I believe the only one who voted for Susie to win this game. I actually thought Susie had a really good matchup this week, and I think he definitely had the right tools to win over Hutch this week. And I think he did play them really well. It was just once the Memos line came in and missed a couple of icicle crashes, the momentum started to shift a bit back in Hutch's favor, and yeah, Hutch is of course Hutch. So once Hutch gets the momentum, it's pretty tough for Susie to come back, to claw back from it. But yeah, I think that was the biggest part, and I also don't recall it too well, but I think in the end that crit on the quick attack Mamoswine, I think it did matter.
No,
Not too
it
sure, but
didn't.
like
It
it
didn't
didn't
matter.
matter. Okay. Well, anyway, I still think you played it really well, and you made it really close versus a very consistent playoff coach. So great job on you. That's why you are the 9th spot to me. And you have at the 9th spot the St. Louis Swablues. Please tell us why.
Yeah, Malone's been playing really well these past few weeks, and while he did lose to TCP, it is of course TCP undefeated currently with a 5-0 record. And he played pretty well, all things considered. Had a really poor start with the final gambit and the Milotic, and probably shouldn't have even really been keeping in a cell goal at that point anyway. But outside of that, he did play his best, I felt, and it just really wasn't enough. He got out prepped and outplayed, but I didn't think that losing to TCP was really gonna be enough to like punish him too badly. Wasn't a big blow. I'm sure that he'll be able to pull off some good things in the coming weeks, especially considering who he plays next is not that good of a player anyway.
Yeah,
So
he sucks.
I'm sure he'll win that game, and then get his win streak rolling once again. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. But at number 8, I actually had AZ in the Houston Hoopers. I did drop him a few spots for losing to Demaster. Definitely a rough loss to take. And yeah, like you said, I don't think he really had control at many points in the game. He didn't really have any good ways of breaking the Mew or the Bronzong. Um, so yeah, that was definitely a rough game for him. Definitely was going to be something that was going to drop him down, and I'm sure he understands that. I'm sure once again he has a good chance of bouncing back in the coming weeks. We'll just have to see how that goes. But for now, I didn't want to have to drop him too far. I like to keep my rankings fairly consistent. Don't want to have any major shifts where I don't feel they're warranted. So that's why I didn't drop him as heavily as Milan did. But yeah, definitely still needs to improve in the coming weeks if he wants to get back into playoff contention.
Yeah, and at number 8 spot, I have the champion of last season, TJ with the Slow Bohemians, and he took another pretty huge beating this week versus the coach, excellent name of the Aussie Kangaskans. And yeah, I don't know what's going on with TJ right now, but I'm actually quite shocked about it. Like, yes, he did lose versus strong teams, but then again, it were like a 6-0 and a 5-0. That's that's really bad. That's actually really bad, especially if you're like you do have that title defense, man. Like, come on, where you at? Um, you did in the game versus EN try really hard. I think you did definitely have some stuff there, but it basically was you handing over your only checks to the Mega Altaria, which made it so easy for EN to win in the end with just one Dragon Dance or two Dragon Dances, and then it was just over. And like I'm just not used to seeing you like that. So like definitely step up your games next week. You did have the harder coaches already passed, so like you have easier weeks, quote unquote easier weeks. But still, like if you're doing it like this, you'll definitely end up taking more losses. So yeah, you're the 8th spot for me, out of play of contention right now. You have him
Yeah,
actually at number 7. Please
yeah,
tell
I
us why.
do. And it's just uncharacteristic. I would have never expected in 1,000 years to out prep TJ. Um, you just saw in that match that he really didn't have the prep for Marowak, and he was essentially forced to sack his Mega Altaria checks just to try to hold back the Marowak. So these are like things that you really don't expect from TJ, like you're saying. He is most famous for his insane prep skills, and it's just really not showing in the past few weeks. He's just not prepared enough for these threats. So that's really what's holding him back right now, I feel. And yeah, he definitely needs to get back into the groove of that, find more time to prep, I guess, is probably a big thing for him. Um, and try to get back in the swing of things. Of course, he does have that potential to just completely go off in any given game if he spends the right amount of time to do so. But he just hasn't done that in the past few weeks. He's on a 3-game loss streak right now, so that's definitely rough for him. And I'm sure he'll start dropping more rapidly if he doesn't flip the script, so to speak, and bring it back with some good prep in the coming weeks. Hopefully, I see you spending some more time in the coming weeks, man. And yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I have the Denver numbers at number 7, and that's quite a big bump up, quite a big boost. Not saying you're better than the other coaches below you. At this point, it was really a toss up. It was hard to rank, and I decided to give you the benefit of the doubt because you performed really well versus a coach who was pretty dominant, I'd say, in the last weeks or so. And because your prep was really on point this week, I really do respect that. It shows you put a bit more effort in your team building, and playing wise, you also didn't make the brainless switches, and actually it looked at least that you thought about your plays really well. Nido Queen was able to pressure AZ a very good bit in the beginning of the game, and then later in the game Hariyama was just the right tank to be there at the right time. And overall the Mew wasn't recklessly switched in and out to take hits, but actually was preserved to take on a Mega Medicham in the end. And overall, I was really happy to see that. But like, you have to keep this up in order to rise, because if you fall back to the last couple weeks' performances, you will drop really hard. But right now, I'm very proud of you to see this performance. And moving on to the playoff teams at this point. At number 6, I have the PC Barcelona. They faced off versus Ferret this week in a very close game. Um, I did put you in the playoff spot this week. Last week you weren't. This week you are. You picked up a victory, which was really nice. It was a very close game, and it wasn't versus like a very dominant coach in a sense. Like, not saying Ferret is not a good coach, but he still will win this team at this point. So like, and it was only a 1-0. So like, it wasn't really too special to me, but it was a good win nonetheless. So the sixth spot is where you'll be for me at this point. And you have the Jersey Justice at place number
Yeah,
6. I don't know
yeah.
what.
Choosing the rank between you and Shadow is really difficult because on one hand, I feel like your play has been overall better than Shadow's. But on the other hand, those forfeits are really counting against you. Even though you did play the games, it's kind of hard to judge based off of the games played when they were counted as forfeits, regardless. So in the end, I did decide to put you just a little bit lower, despite having played really well this week and prepping really well this week against Vish. I felt like even though Vish has been playing really well in that game, especially overall, Vish and Ferret are similar quality coaches as far as their season performances are concerned. So I didn't feel like that was much of a tiebreaker to go off of. So great prep and great play this week, and I'm sure as the actual wins start to stack up more so than the forfeits, you'll definitely start to move up more. But for now, I did decide to put Shadow just a little bit above. And yeah, Shadow, definitely some great stuff. It's great to see him with a positive record this far into the season. And I personally have some stock invested in Shadow's performance, so I got to reward him when he does well. Yes, it was only a 1-0 victory, but it was played appropriately. It's hyper offense, so it's kind of expected that your victories are, for the most part, going to be lower differential as you have to sack off a bunch of stuff to break through the team. And he knew what Pokemon was going to be the one to win the game in the end, and he played it to reach that point effectively. So definitely can't knock the 1-0 score at all. Great stuff to you for winning that week. And it'll be good to see what you can continue to do in the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I put myself at the fifth spot, basically because I won the Jalen finals here this week. No, all seriousness. I think it was a pretty hard matchup for me, especially because the person who I've been playing is, yeah, like I consider him as my rival. So like you always go very hard on your rival. So it was definitely not an easy game for me. Um, he did say the crit on the Rotom really mattered. Uh, in a way, it did matter. On the other hand, he did get a crit on my Shaman before, forcing me to recover in a way. So like, I think it's debatable how much it mattered. But in the end, I did pick up a victory. But yeah, like Ian said, I also have been part of 2 forfeits already. So like, it's just really dumb. The forfeits are really dumb. It's out of my control, but still really dumb. So I can't really rank me properly. I feel like all the time. So I hope I won't have any forfeits anymore and just can play my games to win or loss. I don't care, but just like don't don't have forfeits, please, Milan, please. And number 4, we do have an agreement. Okay, we have an agreement. That's should I be concerned? Should I be concerned? I don't know. Both of the Portland Timbers. Please tell us why you have him at number 4, Ian.
Um, I feel like Hutch has had a rough go of it in the first few weeks, and he's really been able to bounce back with his transactions. So I definitely got to reward that. Hutch is, of course, one of the most consistent coaches in the ASL, and he played really well this week. It was only a 1-0 victory, but it was a 1-0 victory in a pretty bad matchup, like you said earlier. Um, and he played his win cons appropriately. He played his outs appropriately. He made some plays that may have looked questionable on the surface in the end game, but were in fact the only way to guarantee his victory, like the Crobat stack on the Delphox Psychic. So overall, he made some really great plays this week. Played it pretty much perfectly, and played the past weeks really well as well. So got to reward that. I got to respect the improvement to his season so far. And if season 4 is anything to base off of, he's going to be very difficult to beat in the coming weeks as well.
Yeah, for sure. He did have a very nice win over Susie this week. Susie also one of the coaches who would be able to get an upset win over Hutch. And he actually didn't this week. Hutch was able to get on top of this game. I think the Megalopony set was really good with the dual priority this week. Overall, it was a really hard matchup for Hutch, and he did play his team in a way that Susie wasn't able to put in too much pressure, and he wasn't falling behind. And in the end, he did end up getting the momentum in his favor, and then he just played the game out like he should have done it and made the correct sacks indeed, and came on top with a nice victory. Very, very well done on Hutch's part. At number 3, we also have an agreement, and we have both the Chicago Conch Elders with Big Daddy Dave and Dave. Yeah, Dave, the man, the daddy, he is being consistent very well. He did what he needed to do. He fed Zygarde because Zygarde was hungry. He basically pivoted around, weakening the few answers to Zygarde, mostly being the Clefable, and then it was just time for Dave to set up with Zygarde, and he just swept Brett. Like, I can't say a lot about this game, but that's just the basic line what happened, and that's just basically the season of Dave. Pivoting around, bringing a Zygarde setup, win. That's just really well done from Dave. Very consistent once again, definitely deserving the third spot. Why do you have him at number 3?
Yeah, just really smart play overall. He's made like the perfect sacks to get in the Pokemon that he needed to weaken the Pokemon that he needed to. Had no hang-ups about losing a little bit of differential here and there to get the guaranteed win when he knew he would get it. Only slightly questionable thing is like risking the Zygarde risking the Gliscor walling the Zygarde, and could have lost a little bit of momentum there from a few of his sacks, but he was clearly confident that it would work out, and it did work out, so can't hate anything that he's done so far. He's played it fantastically. That Zygarde putting in nothing but the finest, and he just knows how to use it really well. So definitely super solid stuff from him. I'm sure he'll be continuing to keep up his win streak coming along, and probably get Zygarde to continue to stay around the top of the leaderboard. But hopefully I'll get to knock it down to second place rather than in that current first disgusting place where it stands. But without further ado, let's jump into the number 2 picks, where we both have myself really on a roll with these agreements today. You can lead off discussion on that.
Yeah, I have the Aussie Gang Scans number 2 spot. Even though they faced a team that wasn't having the best of momentum and the best of the season, as of right now, it's still champion of last season, and you basically smacked him around really hard. Mega Altaria picking up a lot of kills once again. Actually, isn't the kill leader at this point anymore, so like that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
So
But yeah, overall, you did have a very good performance. Melwek doing the absolute most, and then Altaria just cleaning it up for you. Very well done. Very well done.
Yeah, thanks. I've got myself at number 2 as well, obviously. Mainly the similar reasons for tiebreak as I had last week. Dave and myself definitely pretty much one and the same as far as records, as far as season performance are concerned. Once again, the tiebreaker just being that little bit of extra differential and that head-to-head record. Realistically, I don't think the top 3 rankings are going to change much unless one of the 3 of us fuck up. And I think whoever fucks up first will drop down to number 3 spot. Tough to say, really, but that's how I'm feeling right now. Definitely the 3 of us have been pillars of consistency so far, and it's looking kind of difficult for anyone to catch us. Although I'm sure people will give us a run for our money. But that's just how I feel about it. Once again, we have TCP at number 1, still yet to cop a loss. Beating Malone this week, not necessarily the most impressive win, but he got everything that he needed to, swept appropriately, did really well with the Diggersby in particular. Just really played the game to how he needed to play it to win the game. Nothing really particularly special about the game to really mention. It was pretty much expected outcome in that one. So good stuff to TCP for keeping his streak going.
Yeah, exactly. TCP still being the only team that is currently undefeated. Um, Also, he picked up a victory this week that wasn't like a really janky win or something like that. It wasn't anything. Didn't anything stupid happen? The only stupid thing that did happen was Diggersby though. Like that boy needed to chill this week. That really did the most of work for TCP. It also has a very good set. It did have the Dark EMZ knowing Sloper would be the swap in, so he could take it out after an SD. It wasn't dual band set actually, so like the first part of the game, we got to show the nice +2 attack Diggersby taking lives. In the end of the game, we got to see the +2 speed Diggersby taking lives, and overall, great showcase of Diggersby. Great showcase of how good TCP actually is as a coach. Finally, no janky wins. Finally, we see the true, the true TCP like we want to see from the top coach of the ASL. I think that was about it. Do you have anything to add, Ian?
No, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, check out weekly recap, etc. Follow our Twitter, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. We'll be back next week for sure with the week 6 power rankings. So stay tuned for that. See ya.
Yeah, see you guys.